Dame Hinewehi Mohi, congratulations. You're this year's inductee into the New Zealand Music Hall of Fame. Congratulations.
Tēnā koe.
You're already a dame. This is like next level.
Honestly, my life has kind of gone in all sorts of different directions, and always I end up coming back to music, my real heart project and love for waiata. And so this is really such I'm so honoured to have this platform to celebrate the thing that I love the most about the language and culture, and how it's all encapsulated into waiata, and all those who supported me in my own music, and now those I work with and supporting them with their music. So it is just an absolute privilege to be a part of this musical whānau.
Yeah. And you said music, but you have been such a champion of te reo, Māori music as well. Even in the last, 5-10 years with waiata anthems, you've taken, I don't think many songs sung in full te reo would be played on commercial radio, but you got it there.
We are celebrating 5 years since the waiata anthems release, and we're going to celebrate it with a vinyl edition, which will be very nice. And even going through the artwork and updating things just in the last week or so, it reminded me of how massive and mammoth that project was, and also the absolute involvement and heart that came with it, and all the people that were contributing so much of their love for our cultural identity in this country, and that was with Adam Holt at Universal Music, and Khabazi at Sony, who steered the mothership in the right direction on the music industry side, but also the artists and their openness to recreate, reimagine their hit songs into te reo Māori. And for most of them, it was the very first time they had sung in Māori, and it connected them again to their whakapapa, their genealogy, and their marae, and for many it was life-changing. So I just saw that as a privilege to be a part of something so special, where it was epiphanies abounding, and everyone got something different out of it. And I got to work alongside Sir Timoti Karetu for the reimagining of these waiata into te reo Māori. And as my tutor at university in the early 80s, it was a fantastic thing to revisit that friendship and mentorship with him.
I bet. And yes, I had the privilege of interviewing many of the musicians who had sung waiata anthems, and they, like you mentioned, it was life-changing for them in the most beautiful way. Yeah.
Yes.
Being inducted into the New Zealand Music Hall of Fame, I remember that you were quite humble sometimes. I've asked to interview you and you've said, no, Charlotte, interview this person. No, you love. But was it hard for you to accept? Did someone say, we'd like to do this? And were you okay with being inducted into the New Zealand Music Hall of Fame?
It is difficult and not so dissimilar from accepting the damehood. I guess I am more comfortable with it when I see the opportunity to acknowledge all those who've come before me and supported me, mentored me, and who have passed, and those who continue to support me now, and also as a platform for celebrating waiata reo Māori. So it's a beautiful thing, and also, of course, my double agenda of the Raukatauri Music Therapy Centre. So all those things that connects us through music it's really special to me, and I know that it plays a big part in formulating a strong sense of identity and nationhood, and those are the kinds of things that I think are momentous for us all to feel a part of, and something that we can join together and just really be proud of it.
Yeah. You mentioned the people that have supported you, and I know your father was huge in your life, especially with teaching you the Māori language. Did you speak Māori at home?
Well, from the age of about 10, I think, 9 or 10, Dad decided he really wanted to speak Māori, learn to speak Māori, because his parents hadn't passed on the language to him and his sisters. And that was because they'd been disciplined at school for speaking Māori, and so they thought, we'll protect them from that, and also they need to get ahead having the language, the English language, and to have that strong. And it's a very common story amongst Dad's generation, and in different regions it affected different people in different generations. But it really was such a difficult thing for him when he started to realise that there was something missing in his life, and something missing in his understanding of himself. So he started to learn Māori, and this was in the mid-70s when learning Māori was quite difficult.
What were his resources?
His resources was he had a friend, actually a friend, a tetraplegic, who was in a home in the olden days when anyone with a disability was in a facility, and so we used to go and visit him, and he used to help Dad with the reo, and also correspondence school, which was the only thing really. And my Uncle Charlie and Auntie Blossom were the teachers, and Dad enrolled me, even though I wasn't actually old enough to be enrolled, under my auntie's name. And then when my auntie saw Uncle Charlie and Auntie Blossom, they were saying to her, "Oh, your reel's really coming along." Anyway, that's a side story. But
I love that story, though.
It is
so
funny.
It was kind of a little bit, he really wanted it so much that he sort of not broke the rules.
A little bit, yes. And also he played records, LP records, which I think we can really credit to my love of waiata, and how my love for the music and coupled with the language, because Dad, we lived on a farm in central Hawke's Bay, quite remote. It was a toll call to ring my grandparents, so there weren't many support systems for us learning the language. So Dad played these records over and over again. You might be able to find them in your library.
I was about to say, there's one record that I love from years ago, the Maniapoto Sisters.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, was
yes.
it music like that? Why
music like that, Enia Te Wiata, and I think Māori opera theatre group, and Māori chorals, and choral groups, and Isabel Cohen, she was gorgeous. So I used to listen to her voice and mimic it, and that's how I developed my higher voice, mezzo-soprano, sort of imitation of Isabel Cohen.
Wow, so that's where your love for music came from. Your parents weren't musical. You didn't learn instruments at home?
No, can't even play the spoons. And in fact, I never really picked up on any instrumentation. Dad brought me a guitar when he sent me to St Joseph's Māori Girls College to, carry on with the reo and the culture and learning and performing. And he gave me a guitar, but I just liked singing and got my mates to play the guitar. And that's also where I was exposed to the wonderful tutelage of Dame Georgina Kiengi, then she was the Māori teacher and the kapaka teacher, or the concert party as we called ourselves, and the Māori club, and we'd perform everywhere all the time, in chapel, in class, in performances for visitors or out in the community, and I just adored it. I loved it so much. And Dame Georgina is a very strict teacher, but you knew where you stood and you knew what was expected of you, and I enjoyed the discipline, which I think set me up really well for recording in studio, because I was really focused about that, and knew all the things that were important in terms of the integrity of the culture that I was representing, but also how to perform and reach out to an audience, whether it be through a recording or through live performance.
The St. Joseph's Māori Girls' School have released lots of CDs or lots of beautiful recordings over the many years. Did you record with them, do you think?
No, I just fell through the gap there, and one of my most favourite is with Marika, performing and singing beautiful songs like Hinewehi. And I just love seeing Maisie now, and we all have come from this club with Moana Maniapoto, Whirimaku Black, and where we had that wonderful grounding of, coming from marae experiences and how waiata forms part of the rich protocol of marae and traditions and ceremonies, but also with St. Joseph's, it was, 200 girls, 200 teenage Māori girls. Whew! Anyone who would take that on as a lifetime commitment, like Dame Georgina Kiengi, it's just incredible, her devotion to that school.
Oh, wow. Was it, were there any Pākehā there? Or was it? Did you have to be Māori to go to the school?
Yes, and preferably Catholic, which I wasn't. There were just a small handful of girls not Catholic. We had one Pākehā girl, we had one Fijian, and we had some Ngāruan whānau there as well. But essentially the focus was on Māori girls, and it had been established about 150 years ago as a school led by the Sisters of the
Mercy or something?
Yeah, something like that.
I went to a Sisters of Mercy school
too. Yeah. And it was just a lovely environment. Those are the kinds of friendships and really, through your teens, it's pretty hearty transition into adulthood. So whenever we see other friends from those days, the lifelong friendships.
I bet. You spoke about your love for traditional music, traditional Māori music, and, coming from the marae and also from school, singing those very traditional waiata. What took you into the idea of creating Oceania? Because that was something. I know everyone talks about the rugby performance and everyone talks about all the amazing stuff you do, but for me, that Oceania album was something I'd never heard and just opened my eyes and ears to a whole new world of Māori music, with contemporary music, with modern music. You met Jazz Coleman when he had moved here to conduct the New Zealand Symphony Orchestra, was that right?
Yes, if I backtrack just a little bit.
Yes.
So after St. Joseph's, I went to Waikato University, and it was really at such a golden time with Sir Timothy Kāretu, the late Dr. Hirene Melbourne, and Wharehuia Milroy. So we were very blessed to have such amazing tutors and mentors and inspiration for all that we learned.
Were you, sorry to interrupt, were you learning te reo? Were you learning to make music at university?
No, it was a Bachelor of Arts, so my major was Māori. And Hirene took a waiata class, and so we learnt all about hine raukatauri and the taonga puoro, the traditional Māori instruments. And he had such a lovely, gentle way about him. He was always encouraging me to think about writing and singing. And so Timoti taught me all about mōteatea, the traditional waiata, which are monotone. There's no harmony, no instrumentation, and they can be waiata about tribal happenings or inspiration to, like lullabies to young babies, young children, and inspiring that. And they can also be saucy, sassy waiata that talk about love affairs that the composer have had and all sorts of things. And it was just like a whole magical awakening to this world of tradition of our ancestors. So from that, I had a combination of kapahaka, which is kind of in-betweeny waiata, ringa, poi, and haka, in a way that sort of meets in the middle, and as well as an understanding and a real love and appreciation for the traditional waiata, and then through to wanting to have contemporary waiata as part of that. And I met Jazz Coleman when he was first living in New Zealand, and he established the York Street studio. Oh, yes. And I had to, he asked for someone to open with a waiata, and he was just navigating Māori culture and music at that stage.
Had you heard of him? Had you heard of Killing Joke?
No. And so I was actually working at TVNZ, and my friend dragged me down to the music library and said, "This is Killing Joke." And I went, "Ooh." It's not quite my sort of music, but I appreciated that there was, another kind of perspective on music. Yes. And when he introduced me, and I just met him really, and he was new to the country, but he introduced me to perform at the opening of the York Street Studios in Parnell, and he said, "Ladies and gentlemen, I think it's only appropriate that we open this house of music with a song, introducing you to," and he looked at me, and I could tell he'd forgotten my name, and he goes, "Hinewehi." So I've been Hinewehi ever since.
Has he called you that since?
Yeah, weenie. He lives in Argentina now, and we don't catch up that often, but he's lived in all different parts of Europe, Prague, a lot of time there, and he's still got family in the UK. But yeah, he was amazing and really wanted to create something very different from any of the Māori music he had heard beforehand. And in fact, he was quite insistent on it, which is why I think his different perspective of music, a combination of Killing Joke, orchestra, that's a crazy combination just in itself, yes. But also a different perspective on how Māori music could sound. And I think that's what you're hearing is a really different approach with the sort of chanting, mōteatea kind of esqueness, as well as taonga, the traditional instruments, the voices of antiquity, combined with the contemporary rhythms and sound of contemporary Western music and musicianship. So yeah, it was a great project. I really loved it. And it was also an opportunity for me to channel my emotions after having a daughter with incredible challenges. Hina Raukatori is nearly 28.
Wow.
I know. She's just, a blessing for our whānau. She teaches us so much every day and all the time, and inspires so much in what we do, particularly for music therapy. And Jazz also taught me about music therapy, and Nordoff Robbins in the UK was a really important part of the music industry. And so when we first experienced that for our daughter, and her immediate response was just so animated and excited about connecting to someone through music. And when we came home, we thought, we'll try and find something here for her as well. And there were music therapists working here, but it was really through through setting up our own centre that's now growing and growing and 20 years old.
Oh my gosh, congratulations. I guess that wasn't in your plan, like setting up a music therapy, what would you call it, a unit?
A centre.
A centre.
Yeah.
A centre.
The Raukatori Music Therapy Centre started just with one therapist and a handful of children, including Ine Raukatori, who was she must have been 7 at the time, and an incredible group of people who really dedicated themselves to it and continue to be involved and keep it running. You know, this year is extremely challenging, though. Charities all over are really struggling to continue to provide the services and help people in the way that we have been.
And it's lack of funding.
Lack of funding and just a complete change of resource set up, and so we have to rationalise, and of course that means that those services that are most dependent on external resource are going to be affected. So we have to think really creatively about how we're going to have some big explosive action to draw in some funding to keep it going, but I'll save that little secret for later on in the conversation.
Well, I was actually going to, is this the Guinness Book of Records?
Yes.
Little secret? Can you tell me, because I was thinking if anyone's listening right now and they want to support music therapy as well, you are doing something very special to fundraise for the Raukatori Music Therapy Centre, aren't you?
Yes, well, I won't tell too much.
Okay.
Quite yet, but for Matariki we're going to have a big announcement, because the world record for the biggest haka is actually held by the French.
What?
It's outrageous.
That is so outrageous.
So we're going to have an event where we will break that record. We're absolutely confident of that. And also what we want to do with that event is to really bring people together and use it as a unifying event to, in the build-up, we will help people to learn the haka, learn the origins of the haka, and how this is a really special cultural icon that we all treasure and we know is important to us, but there's varying degrees of understanding, and we want everyone to be proud and come together and celebrate this unique cultural heritage with the haka, and to bring that record back.
I love your energy, Hinewehi, because you're constantly thinking or working on an exciting new project. You're constantly busy. Or it feels like you are. You've always got cool projects, and you've got a job as well.
I was going to say that.
And you're a mother. And, where do you get your energy from, do you think?
I think I get my drive from my parents, but my dad, and definitely in terms of putting me on the pathway to pursue the reo and tikanga and share it with others, and music being my avenue of choice. And Dad did start that with playing those records over and over and over and over again. And
do you still play those records even now?
When I listen to them, in a different form, not on a record player so much, but it just brings back so many memories, because I was a bit reluctant. I was really wanting to get out on my motorbike and go hooning off around the hills, but Dad would be very strict and intentional about how we needed to learn the language every night. There needed to be some concerted effort on learning, and it was a bit painful when I was 10. But now I love it, and I'm so grateful that he did that for me, because it's as important for him as it is for me, and now that I see how important it is for others, and my ability to be in positions where I can support that is really important to me, and I'm grateful for it.
I'm grateful for you, and I was going to say it's so important for our whole country, for Aotearoa, to celebrate too. How is 10 years ago you were sick with breast cancer? How's your health now?
I seem to be fine.
You look great. Yeah.
I didn't have time to be sick. And it was really much a point in my life where I had to take stock of what was happening. You know, Hinewehi was still needing a lot of attention at hospital and specialists, and so that had to continue. But my darling love heart George was able to, you know, wrap me up and support me so I could get through the treatment, and care for Hinewehi and the team and the whānau, and continue to keep things on track. So always in anything I do, nothing is in isolation, and always so dependent on those who love and support me. So even when I have the craziest of ideas, there seems to be lots of people who go, yeah, let's do that. And
it's your energy. It's contagious.
Well, I think maybe there's some people that are going, oh, God, here she comes. I better avoid her. She's going to rope me into something. But I think that there's also a feeling from people that told me about using it as an opportunity for learning about the culture, and how it can be a rich part of all of us. So sometimes the fear of not knowing or not being correct in how you do things when you're learning the culture, it can be really intimidating. And certainly the artists involved with that first Waiata Anthems album told me all the time how overwhelming it was. Even Stan Walker, and all his gorgeousness and his understanding of the reo at that time, he still felt really nervous about singing his waiata. And
now look at him.
Now look at him.
I know.
Isn't he incredible?
Yes.
And I was really grateful for that, feeling the fear and doing it anyway. A determination to make that connection to the language and culture and being a part of it. And Tammy Nielsen, you know, she's from Canada, has some Indigenous whakapapa as well that she could bring to the story, and those glorious dulcet tones of hers, and 660 with Marlon, Te Marino, and Mathieu, and how they learnt so much about their own connections to home, and for Mathieu, the rich connection to a beautiful musical family. Yes. and that history. So it was a glorious time, and having a lot of fun with the Drax Project boys, who we were just talking about my music at one stage, and I talked about Kotahitanga, the song, you know, whakaawe, awe, awe, and they were so excited because they used to do jump jam at school to that song. And so I said to them at the beginning of this year, you guys should do a new 2024 version of that song, and all your generation and younger and older will relate to it from jump jam, so they're going to do that.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know if I was meant to say that.
I was about to say, that is gold. Wow, that's so exciting.
Yes. But the boys are having babies, not them personally, physically, but
yes.
Sean and Matt are having babies. So they'll be very busy at the moment, but they are sort of plotting and scheming as a celebration for Te Wiki o Te Reo Māori later in the year.
Dame Hinewehi Mohi, congratulations again for being inducted into the New Zealand Music Hall of Fame, and thank you so much for everything that you do for our New Zealand music community and for the Māori language community as well. All the music that you make is just, I feel like you bring so much joy to us and open our minds, so thank you.
Well, thank you for championing it, championing the music and our culture. Kia ora.
It's funny, actually. I was DJing the other night, and just by accident, I think I played almost 2 hours of Māori music.
Did ya?
Yeah. I played some Margaret Ehrlich and, a couple of others in there, but I was like, how interesting that this vibe, I'm just keep choosing these great, there's so much to choose from as well, like Geneva AM, there's so much.
Yeah.
Actually, Hinewehi, have you heard of a DJ called Lady Shaka?
Yes.
Do you know that she DJs your music out?
Yes. Now, I've known her since she was a teenager at Waioria, Western Springs, and I was just delighted when she was in the UK and jamming the jams from home, and people were saying to me, I was in this club in London, and there it popped up. And, even when Oceania was still, sort of playing into the 2000s, and my cousin said, I'm at Niagara Falls, cousin, I'm hearing your music, and it's just so lovely to be able to share the gift of music wherever you are in the world, and it just brings us together. It's a real connector. It's so powerful. I love it.